And allow me at the beginning a word on the situation in the Middle East. I'm deeply concerned about the conflict. Iran has to cease immediately its threats, laying of mines, drones and missile attacks and other attempts to block the strait to commercial shipping. The recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces is unacceptable and must be condemned. I also want to emphasize that freedom of navigation is a fundamental principle of international law. We will come back to these issues and their structural consequences at the Parliament this afternoon. I am very happy that today we agreed to step up our cooperation with 4 major projects. They cover production of rare earth, lithium and tungsten. And we are building on our work with allies towards a buyers club, and we are building on the critical raw materials partnership we launched 2 years ago. And we will apply the same logic to security, and this is my 4th and final point. The launch of our security and defence partnership. Europe and Australia share a responsibility beyond our borders. We know that Europe's security and Indo-Pacific stability are not separate conversations. A crisis in the Indo-Pacific would cripple global trade, directly hitting European industries and growth. So we have resolutely decided to step up cooperation on defence industry, counter-terrorism, space and maritime security. And we are joining forces to fight back against hybrid threats to our democracies. Because we are both confronted with disinformation and wider attempts to erode public trust.
Will the European Union expand its existing maritime security operations to the Strait of Hormuz? If so, how soon will we see European ships contributing there? What are the conditions? And Prime Minister, would Australia consider contributing to such a maritime operation?
So the leaders in the European Union have been very clear that when the hostilities end, they could envisage an operation, a mission. But of course it is not for me to judge on their decision to provide the necessary capabilities in the Strait of Hormuz.
We've continued to condemn the Iranian regime for the actions that it's taken in the Strait of Hormuz. This is having an impact on the global economy, and the targeting of civilian ships is against the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, which allows for freedom of navigation, is very important. What Australia has provided is an E-7 aircraft to Wedgetail to the region. That's providing support, particularly for the UAE after their request. And of course the UAE is on the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz. And in addition to that, we're providing AMRAAMs to the UAE to provide that support. That is the request that we've had up to this point in time.
Do you think that, notwithstanding what you just said, that at some point European countries and nations further afield, like Australia, may have to become involved in some sort of operation to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
So what I've said at the beginning of the press statement already, we think that it is time to go to the negotiation table and to end the hostilities. The situation is critical for the energy supplies worldwide. We all feel the knock-on effects on gas and oil prices, our businesses and our societies. But it is of utmost importance that we come to a solution that is negotiated, and this puts an end to the hostilities that we see in the Middle East.